Ahead on DC News Now, a confirmed measles case reaches the nation's capital. What we know about the patient's recent whereabouts in the district. Then Teslas across the country targeted.
So we wiped it off with Windex. And the next day, another message appeared.
DC's no exception. Who's behind the wave of vandalism in our area, and how the FBI is saying it's cracking down with a special new task force.
We'll be tracking a few showers as they move across the DMV this evening. We'll let you know when this soggy weather could kick out of here.
Then dispensary drama. Debate for and against bringing a marijuana shop to a community in Kensington. And DC students help the city get into a cherry blossom spirit. The new murals on display at the Tidal Basin.
You're watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Another measles exposure in the DMV, this time in our nation's capital. Thanks for joining us for DC News Now. I'm Mark Hall.
I'm Tosin Fakile in for Annalisa Gale. This case follows a recent report of 2 infected patients in Prince George's County.
And DC News Now's Dave Laval joins us from the MedStar Urgent Care in Adams Morgan.
So Dave, what can you tell us about what exactly happened there?
Well, good afternoon to you, Tosin and Mark. What we can tell you is DC Health told us the person infected with measles came here sometime during the hours of 7 and 11 p.m. March 22nd. But this is not the only place that person visited.
That's actually really terrifying. What the hell? Somebody had measles?
DC Health says that person arrived at Union Station during the late evening hours on March 19th on Amtrak's Northeast Regional 175 train southbound.
Like the measles is kind of not necessarily outdated, but it's an old virus.
The exposure at Union Station is among the latest around the DMV since March 5th.
As a visitor and a father of 5 children, doesn't worry me one bit.
Alabama's Brent Skipper says there's a good reason why he's not concerned following the exposure at Union Station.
We've got great health facilities, great medicines, we can treat it.
DC Health says the infected person visited the MedStar Urgent Care in Adams Morgan during the evening of March 22nd. While they disagree on the threat of measles, Amani Jordan and Skipper do agree on something to stop the spread.
Put on the mask.
Wear your mask.
Yeah, some good advice there. DC Health recommends you contact your primary health care provider if you think you may have been exposed to measles, or contact DC Health for more guidance. We're live in Adams Morgan in Northwest. Dave Laval, DC News Now.
All right, Dave, thanks for that report. The CDC has confirmed more than 370 measles cases nationwide since January. There are 3 outbreaks right now in Texas, New Mexico, and Oklahoma.
And Tosin, the CDC says in 95% of those cases, the patient is either not vaccinated against measles or their vaccination status is unknown.
And right now, health officials are concerned about the potential impact spring break could have on this spread. With so many people expected to take to the skies, there is concern that the highly infectious disease could gain traction. However, if you have had 1 of 2 doses of the vaccine, you should be immune. The CDC says vaccination is the best protection against measles.
And while you're generally immune if you're up to date with your doses, the measles is highly contagious and spreads easily through the air. And when an infected person breathes, coughs, or sneezes, the Mayo Clinic says that symptoms usually appear in 2 stages. The first is a fever, runny nose, watery eyes, and a cough. These normally appear 10 to 14 days after exposure. The second stage is when a rash appears. Mayo Clinic says that measles can be spread for about 8 days, starting 4 days before the rash appears and ending when the rash has been present for 4 days. DC News Now is tracking the latest on measles nationwide and in our region. For the very latest, when we're not on air, you can go to dcnewsnow.com.
The D.C. Council considering a ban on cell phones in public and charter schools. The bill introduced by Councilmember Brooke Pinto would ban cell phones, gaming devices, and smartwatches during the school day. Exceptions would be made in the case of an emergency or if students need to use them as part of their learning in the classroom. Pinto says last year, only a third of D.C. students met or exceeded expectations for English, arts, and literacy, and fewer than 1 in 4 students met or exceeded expectations in math. She says phones are a major distraction in the classroom, but also address concerns from parents about the possibility of their kids not having their phones during an emergency. Pinto says she recognizes the concern, but says the last thing a student should do in an emergency in school is look down at their phones. Parents and community members can weigh in on the legislation right now. Public comment period closes at 5 p.m. on April 8th.
New today, interim U.S. Attorney for D.C. Ed Martin speaking to community members in Ward 8. The meeting held by the Anacostia Coordinating Council was tense at times as Martin fielded questions from the public.
And DC News Now's Marielle Carbone live downtown from the federal courthouse. And Marielle, this was the first time Martin spoke to the public since taking office.
Yeah, Tosin and Mark, it was. So it was certainly an important meeting. We know that Martin is right now the top prosecutor for crimes here in D.C. So today, the community really drilling him on his stances, his policies, and his attitude.
Nobody wants crime. Nobody wants violence.
Which is why Cora Masters Barry, the wife of the late Mayor Marion Barry, attended this meeting by the Anacostia Coordinating Council, hoping to find common ground with D.C.'s new interim U.S. Attorney, Ed Martin.
Yeah, I think it was good that he came. It showed a little courage. But more importantly, did he listen?
In a packed room, Martin making a commitment to the local community.
Our families deserve to be safe.
And clarifying a controversial statement he made on social media, claiming to be Trump's attorney.
In the sense that I work in the federal government and I'm appointed by the president.
The crowd often heated, eager to ask questions. D.C. Shadow Senator Ankit Jain grilling Martin on why he fired staff and demoted attorneys allegedly connected to the prosecution of January 6 cases.
Well, one of the reasons you need to hire more people is because you fired 8% of your staff.
We got kids getting killed, toddlers getting killed by stray gunfire. And we're going to have a debate about who thinks what about highly paid lawyers and where they work.
Others asking how he plans to handle juvenile crime.
What is your position on prosecuting youth offenders as adults?
Our 16 and 17 and 18-year-olds are doing adult crimes, and they have to be held accountable as adults.
Action speaks louder than words.
Community leader Ron Moen saying moving forward, he'll be looking for balance from Martin.
And then when you cross that line, we can go back to the same situation we had when we had mass incarceration and it destroyed my community.
And Martin did not stop to take any questions by reporters on the way out, only sending us over to his press office, Mark and Tosin. We also know that he still needs to go through his Senate confirmation before he officially holds that title as the prosecutor here in D.C. Reporting live downtown, I'm Marielle Carbone, D.C. News Now.
Marielle, thank you. We're taking a live look outside right now. Some clouds out there. We are expecting a cooler day tomorrow. We saw that wind whipping in Marielle's live shot.
It was indeed. Let's head over to meteorologist Damon Matson with the first look at our forecast. Damon, how are things looking now and for the rest of the evening?
Well, those blustery winds aren't going anywhere, that's for sure. It's been a common theme with our weather over the last few days, and it still will be as we move forward. But for some of us, there is the chance for a little bit of rainfall this evening. You saw the clouds out there on the live look. The clouds have certainly rolled back in, but showers, they're tough to find if you are north of D.C. I-66. A little bit of light rainfall trying to establish itself across Orange, Spotsylvania counties right near that Fredericksburg area, drifting towards southern Maryland. But outside of this little bit of light rainfall, the rest of us, we're only seeing clouds and we're staying dry as we move over the next several hours. So we will continue to see those breezy winds. The chance for 4. Additional showers does linger here past sunset up till the 8-9 o'clock hour. And again, your best chance to find any sort of soggy weather south of the district in Virginia, parts of southern Maryland. But even those will be wrapping up as we head toward 10-11 o'clock tonight. Now, the blustery winds that are out there, they will continue this evening, and they are expected to continue into the day on Wednesday when we're back to drier conditions and very low relative humidity, which means just dry air will be in place. That being the case, there is now a fire weather watch in place north and west of the district for the most part throughout the day on Wednesday, as all of those conditions combine for favorable conditions there for wildfire spread. So you need to be careful if you are out and about on Wednesday. Any open sparks or flames. So we'll talk about those blustery winds that we will deal with, and we'll track any showers that are on the way the rest of the evening, coming up in your full forecast here in just a bit.
Or the Charles County, Maryland, now where detectives need help cracking a cold case involving an accused serial sex offender.
So here are the facts that we know. According to sheriff's deputies, between November 1996 and August 2003, an unidentified man targeted women around D.C. and Prince George's County. He would offer them a ride under false pretenses. Then once they got in his car, he would drive the women to a remote area of Charles County, physically attacking them and sexually assaulting them.
Investigators believe that the suspect often used the nicknames Jerry, Jimmy, George, and James. Deputies say that he was in his late 30s to 50s at the time, meaning he's likely now in his 50s to 70s, and they believe that he has ties to Southern Maryland and D.C. region.
All right, so take a good look at this police sketch. There are also pictures on our website showing various cars the suspect has been linked to. To see this photos, or if you have any tips, go to dcnewsnow.com and search Charles County. Well, right now, the FBI ramping up its new Tesla vandalism task force as owners are finding themselves victims of vandalism, property damage, and even arson across the country.
And Tosin, the task force comes as Tesla founder Elon Musk faces backlash over his involvement in the downsizing of the federal government.
And here in D.C., the police department is investigating several cases of Tesla targets as political hate speech.
Right now, we find DC News Now's Randy Bass on Capitol Hill, where several Tesla owners have found themselves scrubbing their windows. Randy.
Hey there, yes, D.C. police say this has happened at least 5 times over the last 3 weeks in several different neighborhoods across Northeast and Northwest D.C., including right here on Capitol Hill. Police say those suspects are armed with paint markers going right up to windows and leaving messages behind.
I feel like we're being bullied.
Capitol Hill neighbor Gene Butler has had his Tesla for 5 years.
The first time was shock, and I thought it was a little amusing. But the second time, I was very upset.
He and several other neighbors leaving their homes to find messages on their Teslas recently.
The message said, "I heart Elon." We thought, okay, somebody being, funny, so we wiped it off. And the next day, another message appeared that said, "Instead of selling the car, you bought a bumper sticker."
His doorbell camera catching a man scribbling on his windshield, and police releasing photos of 2 suspects, saying the man is allegedly involved in all 5 of these recent incidents on the Hill and in Columbia Heights and Noma. The woman involved in 2. DC police are investigating these defacing private property cases as incidents of political hate speech. On Monday, President Donald Trump touching on the recent rise in Tesla targeting.
Those people are in big trouble, so they better cut it out. But Elon's a patriot. We want to thank you very much for the job you're doing.
Butler says he's a former federal worker and sympathizes with others' frustrations. He asks,
we can have a civil conversation. I mean, we don't support what's going on with the government right now, and I'm sure they don't either, but damaging personal property is not the way to protest.
And D.C. police are asking for your help in this case, asking for any information about the incidents or the suspects themselves. Any information that leads to an arrest and conviction in this case is eligible for a $1,000 reward. On Capitol Hill, I'm Randy Bass, D.C. News Now.
Heading to the grocery store, we're stretching your dollar with this week's grocery price check.